I don't think we can be friends anymore. Here lately, it seems you've let your hatred outgrow your heart. It's become an infection, penetrating down into your very bones, and yet here you sit, intentionally ignorant of all your symptoms. Dear Marshall, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but here lately it seems I only need one word to describe you, and it's a word that paints over 200 years worth of pictures, like 13-knot slips hanging off the back wall of a flower shop. Bedsheet ghosts roaming back roads every night but Halloween, a parade, subliminally celebrating a war outcome that never actually happened. Dear Marshall, do you remember when yesterdays were Sundays, filled with church pews and grandma's cooking, both of them overflowing with love, though that love seems to be leaving you now? And the food isn't the only thing that you've been burning. Dear Marshall, do you ever think about the words that you speak? Whenever you claim to be a rebel, I often wonder what that means when you act the exact same as all those around you. Whenever you say the words, no offense, I wonder what you would be willing to say in order to offend. How can I defend the way that I am when you freely use words that don't belong within the color of our skin, when you make jokes about the ropes in the back of your truck, when every spring you drive down Main Street with two flags waving and you're claiming somehow that it's your heritage, but the bondage that's contained in that kind of statement makes me want to pray for the both of us. Makes me want to seek repentance for the both of us, though I never see you coming to this for the sins of those that came before us. Dear Marshall, what is it within us that defines us? If we all bleed the same shade of red, if we all breathe the exact same air, if we all have the same burdens to bear, what could we compare other than the things that we think about one another, or maybe the things that we say to one another, or maybe sometimes the things that we don't say? Dear Marshall, do you remember the last time you addressed someone as something other than the color of their skin? Yeah, me neither. But do you remember the last time I tried to stop and correct you? Yeah, me either.
I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. How I wish I was home, I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing. The wind that makes the tall grass bend in the leading, and under rain the drums they fall. They all have a meaning, sprinkling the scene. It makes it all clear.
I give up. I'm through with this cruel world. See, to me, this life is a trip. It's time to see what's next, but I don't know what to expect once I lay down in that dirty ditch. It gets hard sometimes to try and find a peace of mind. It's like all of this was designed to corrupt and destroy your man's mind state. No one can relate to what I'm feeling and wonder why I lash out and take things out on anyone in my eyesight and fill myself with things till I pass out. My mind is at the point of no return. Losing control of all of this is just another lesson learned. So behold, here comes another lost soul, stuck in the game, programmed to the point My mind is like a computer's mainframe. 80% of the things that I done been through. See, half of these cats couldn't even stand it, 'cause it's deadly and it's sinful. Too many years of a messed up life. It would take a brave heart to handle just a few minutes of my ways, because they were crooked and trife. Sitting in the dark thinking of things that ain't right. Playing Russian roulette. Having visions of murder and having visions of murdering myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking of taking my own life. What would you do if suicide was upon you? Nowhere to turn to, nobody got your back, no one to talk to. Would you just give up and take your life? Make your own judgment. Decide which way you want to begin or end your life. Lord, I told you the world was cold. I'm hurting inside. I fear I'm gonna be stuck in limbo with the rest of the lost souls. You may think I'm pitiful and weak. My life is like walking in a dead man's shoes. Until you walk this path, don't even speak. So what's this man to do next? Go on with this deadly game or super glue my finger to this fully equipped tech? Here come them toe tags and body bags. I done suffered so long, it's time to throw in the towel and hang up my blue flag. But what would you do if suicide was upon you? Nowhere to turn to, nobody got your back, no one to talk to. Would you just give up and take your life? Make your own judgment, decide which way you want to begin or end your life. Thank you.
This poem is racist. This poem only places its face in places with similar looking pages that embraces its tasteless message. This poem is not credible. This poem is pitiful. This poem only points out the problem but solves nothing. This poem is deconstructively critical. This poem is not literal. This poem was only written to see what this poem would have done if this poem really existed. This poem is hypothetical. This poem is not political. Though it is equally hypocritical, this poem is a gay basher and a closet homosexual. This poem is foolproof, 80-proof, waterproof, bulletproof, fireproof, and wheelchair accessible. This poem will be debated. When rated by most, this poem will be hated. This poem will be broadcasted over several countries and translated. This poem has an addiction to porn and prescriptions. This poem is X-rated. This poem just made a sex tape. That's how this poem got famous. This poem has no morals. This poem lost the popular vote but won the electoral. This poem did it twice. This poem is plural. This poem will cause quarrels. This poem will start wars and rumors of wars all over the world. This poem is all over the World Wide Web. You can get this poem on your iMac, iPad, iPod, or iPhone because this poem's going viral. This poem is malignant. This poem is epidemic and systemic. This poem was written by a Wall Street representative who will get a big bonus if he can just foreclose on the White House so even the president is homeless. This poem is not economical. This poem sends death threats to Obama. This poem is a problem. This poem does not care about the middle classes or the masses. This poem is in a higher bracket but pays a lower taxes. This poem has excess access to the extras because this poem is selfish. This poem was written by a black man, but will later be stolen by a white man and made famous. This poem knows Elvis. This poem takes personal checks, payroll checks, and government checks, but will require a background check, e-check, and credit check because this poem is not spiritual. This poem does not believe in the power of prayer or miracles. This poem does not celebrate childbirths or burials. This poem is for the anti-American and domestic terrorists because this poem is violent. This poem knows its rights, but chooses not to remain silent. This poem has a freedom of speech, and this poem is exercising it. And this poem is not a ploy. This poem is not for boys. This poem is not a toy. This poem is not to be enjoyed. This poem should leave you annoyed. Because this poem is evil. And just like evil people, this poem should be destroyed.
Okay. Yeah. That's all I got. I had to try, I don't get too many opportunities like this. But while I'm up here jamming, having fun, how many of y'all out there having fun? It's a 3-letter word. We don't get to do it too much, so we gotta make sure we take the time to feel it. Somebody bounce with me. Come on. Just a little bit. There we go. Oh. Y'all not feeling this? You feeling it. There you go. On the saxophone, man. But, all right, now I gotta get back to work. We about to keep it going. We about to start the last act, okay? So we appreciate you guys being calm and patient with us and listen to all the art and beautiful things that that's being broadcast. And we hope you guys are taking in this knowledge and it's doing something inside for you all. You know, conversations are being ready to be sparked when you guys leave here. The way you look at each other is different. You know, before you guys leave, make sure you hug somebody you don't know. All right? Make sure you hug somebody you don't know. All right? So we about to get started with the next monologue, and then we're gonna have the last act. We're gonna have everybody come up here. All right, we about to get this show started. So, no longer later ado, about to do the next monologue, as they keep having me walk out of here on this beat. Just love it. All right.
So Stephen comes in with the children. What do you want? Careful, Stephen, you're about to amuse me. And who are those thorny weeds for? Because I do not want them. What now, Stephen? What now? It still pisses you off that I left you and I refuse to allow myself to be a victim anymore, that I had the courage to move on. Yes. Here we are again, going over the same thing as we have done many times before. Let me hear how you are taking me to court. Okay. Remember how you would beat me for sport? For waking me up in the morning, trying to sleep at night? You tried to beat my babies out of me. You threatened, ridiculed, spit on me, disrespected, and humiliated me. I just had enough, Stephen. It was as simple as that. Enough. You made my life miserable, a living hell. Nothing I ever did was enough, and so I had enough. I have nothing more to give you. You took it all. Go ahead, take me to court. You are a pathetic little man and a coward, Stephen. Get yourself a life and leave mine the hell alone. And take those disgusting thorny weeds with you. Get out! Or you can plead your case to the judge as you so often did, and it landed you where you are right now. You hear me? Is that clear enough? You do not scare me anymore. Get out of my house before I call the police. Get out!
So I just moved into a new apartment, right? And got it all like set up and got the bed, and you know, I was up late last night and I couldn't really go to sleep, and I was struck like a tree in one of God's light shows with a few questions. Do you think angels bowl perfect games? I'm talking bowling balls thrown parallel down lanes flawlessly. But if the bumpers are up, does that still count? Or what about heel to toeing high wires with safety nets? Is that still filled with the same dramatics as failure with certain death? Or remember when you were younger, Crayola toiling away in an arduous attempt to stay in the lines clear and Kemp, but what if there was no guide? Just congealed crayons crisscrossing the other's territory, blue and gray brothers fighting a war, a means to unity perfection they would never call civil. It's thoughts like these that catch me when it drizzles until I French door open my mind to more. Rainstorms hailing humility into pores, too tiny to absorb anything but self, too often unimpressed by this myriad wealth of daily miracles bombarding our senses, only to reawaken my olfactory bulb that I could finally smell the roses. Blessings heaped heavy on me while I search for the rough amongst all these diamonds. Disregarded backup fiddles in case our strings snap. Telling themes in the wake of best laid plans made without ever really accounting for mistakes. It seems so contradictory, especially when you consider that we're all walking forgiveness machines, half-empty tanks and engines running on empathy and attention. So yes, bowling those strikes, walking that rope, staying in those lines is just fine. But it's impossible to do every time. It's the reason we have bumpers. It's the reason we have safety nets. It's the reason we have lines, so that we're not consumed to be the best, not doomed to assume that we are good enough. Instead, it is blatant. We are not good enough. This is the reason for love. Thank you, guys.
A single child, more alone than you would ever know, speaks to the only one that's thought to be listening, spilling prayers across the tear-stained pages of another lost journal entry. See, it should be soothing to let that playground torment out, to let this pen shout words trapped in throats until it volcano erupts its way out, turning burnt fury into crying rains of relief. But for them, relief never comes. So it's nothing more than an ink-down prayer written 1,000 different times in 1,000 different ways. You see, we are millions of voices, all feeling as if we are crying out alone, but we are legions of outcasts, all singing the exact same song. We are the dateless dance wallflowers and the gym class last picks, playground piñatas and the ones no one would ever kiss. We are the poked and the prodded, lonely, weak, and downtrodden. We dwell in closed locker door prison cells and lonely lunchroom table hells. Voices forever echoing throughout these hallways, having never so much as whispered a word because no one wants to hear the pleads and the cries of those they will label as less fortunate. So they will tattoo names we never asked for into memories we never wish to be in so that we may forever reside inside of their reminiscent laughter. But what I really want to know is who is still laughing with kids curled up into balls, crying themselves to sleep at night? Who is still laughing when prepubescent straws, lines in life's sand, daring someone to cross them? Who is still laughing while watching under the news report of a child feeling as if they have to choose when their own last breath would be? Do you ever wonder what that last breath said? Was it written across the laugh lines of cruel jokes and pointed fingers? But I say maybe it's time we point back and greet incoming missiles of hate with iron domes of hope, start popping up like living stop signs and put a stop to all of these human anthill magnifying glasses, only ever looking down to pick someone up so that maybe, just maybe, one of these days, these journal entries may sound just a little bit differently. Instead of bleeding pleads across these pages, crying out to God from solitary notebook cages, from a single child, more alone than you would ever know. Thank you.
Memories of love above the city lights. I try so hard to take it, but I know my heart won't make it. I just wanna stop and tell you what I feel about you, babe. I just wanna stop. I never wanna live without you, babe. I just gotta stop. For your love, for your love.
That was for them?
That was for you, brother.
Oh, man. I was like, man, I'm feeling this. They've been missing me. They ready. How did y'all enjoy it? Yeah? Yeah? Do y'all feel it? Y'all feel that? You know? We about to shut the show down. We about to close it down. But before we can do that, you know, first off, more than anybody else, we have to thank you guys for coming. And ladies. I know I say guys, but you ladies and gentlemen for coming tonight to support us out here. We got to thank West Kentucky for hosting us, having us be out here, giving us the opportunity to broadcast our art and all the hard and talented work that has been done. We got to thank Mr. Brian for allowing us to be here. We got to thank the band. We're going to get it started with Ernie. We got to thank Mr. Ernie on sax, Ernie Burney. We got to thank Brick on the drums. We got to thank Donovan Woods on the keys. And we got to thank the gorgeous Miss Amanda for her vocal talent that she's graced us with tonight. And we got to thank these poets. We're going to start off with Tyler. We got to thank Tyler for spitting out his wonderful artistic ability. We got Jacob in the house. We got to thank. We got Queen Bee, lovely Grace Yoakum in the house. We got Ed, Touchtone, Jay Skrilla, AKA Love Jones. We got Levi Jeans in the building. And all due, we have Samuel Keith Hawkins, but some of y'all know him as Snacks. He about to spit some last beautiful words before we close out tonight. Gonna talk to the people.
All right, go ahead and do me a favor and throw your glasses up. Yeah, throw your glasses up. And let's give a toast to love lost and love found, to be thankful for another breath above ground. If your pulse possesses a sound, let me hear it from your throat like your heart had a concert. Woo! Are you looking for more love, God in your life? That's ABC easy. Communicate routinely. Between the page and when you pray, be Houdini. Disappear fear and let God steer. Like livestock then. Fly your fate like a flight from point A, only to point B, non-stop now. Let me tell you about the story I've got one brother, one sister, two uncles, gone, and an aunt too, tears fall, monsoon. My aunt is a fastball. I'm a cockeyed pinch hitter. I miss her, but we are still here, still here, with breath in our lungs and life in our veins. We've all had pains, but we do it together. So I hope you take this night and paint a picture of it on your heart. And it lasts forever. Thank you. Yeah, have a good night. Love y'all. Hope to do this again.